Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Umoja Forum. On behalf of the Midlands African Chamber Inc. and the MAC Foundation, thank you for joining us for this important conversation on engaging local governments and driving community impact. At MAC, we believe civic engagement is essential to building thriving communities. When residents understand how local government works and feel empowered to participate, we create stronger institutions where responsive leadership and greater opportunity for everyone. Tonight's forum brings together leaders from civic organizations and local governments to explore how community members can meaningfully engage with decision makers, advocate for the issues they care about, and create lasting impact. Before we begin our discussion, I would like to introduce our distinguished panelists. First, we have Brad Christian Salas. Brad Christian Salas is a movement strategist and chief power officer at the Nebraska Civic Engagement Table. He has led national efforts advancing voting rights and racial justice through roles at the Ballot Initiative Strategy Center and Civic Nebraska. A Nebraska a University of Nebraska at Omaha graduate, he has received multiple honors, including the Omaha NAACP Freedom Fighter Award and Civic Nebraska Defender of Democracy Award.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm not able to hear. I'm not sure if you're able to hear me.
I can hear you just fine. You might want to log out and log back in if you're not able to hear me okay. Next up, we have Washal Davis. Washal is a Nebraska Omaha community leader and civic engagement strategist focused on voting rights and racial justice, as well as grassroots organizing. She works to empower residents, supports returning citizens, and strengthen community participation in the democratic process. A social justice fellow, she previously pursued a career in rap music and holds an associate degree in chemical dependency counseling while pursuing a bachelor's degree in psychology. Welcome, Washal.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
Up to the stage now is Council Member Lavanya Goodwin. Lavanya Goodwin is a marketing and sales professional turned community leader and economic development advocate in North Omaha. A Creighton University graduate, she founded Leadership Group Omaha and the North 24th Street BID Association and now serves as executive director of the North Omaha 24th Street Business Improvement District Association. In 2024, she was elected to the Omaha City Council representing District 2. Welcome, Lavanya.
Thank you. Glad to be here tonight and looking forward to this discussion.
Awesome. Last but not least, we have Commissioner Marianne Bergeson. Commissioner Marianne Bergeson was first elected to the Douglas County, Nebraska Board of Commissioners in 1994. She was re-elected to her seventh term in 2018. In 1997, Commissioner Bergeson was the first woman elected to serve as chairwoman of the Douglas County Board and has served in this capacity for numerous years. She has served as an NA co-president, chair of the NACO Health Policy and Cybersecurity Committees, and vice chair of the Large Urban County Caucus, Health County Board, and Health Committee. She has also served on NACO's International Economic Development Task Force, Arts and Culture Commission Membership Committee, and Programs and Services Committee. Commissioner Bergeson is a past president of Women's NACO. Thanks for joining us. And finally, We have Councilmember Pete Festerson. Pete Festerson has served on the Omaha City Council since 2009 and currently serves as council president. He is also division vice president and strategy and public affairs at CHI Health and has held leadership roles with the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce, the Peter Kowitz Foundation, and the Mayor's Office. An Omaha native and University of Nebraska at Omaha graduate, he has received multiple recognitions for his leadership in public service and community development. Thank you all so much for joining me this evening for this very important discussion. Let's begin our discussion by exploring what civic engagement really looks like in everyday life. I'm going to address my very first question to Brad and Washaw. So beyond voting, what does meaningful civic engagement really looks like in everyday life? Any one of you can start.
I'm happy to jump in. To me, when I think about meaningful civic engagement, I'm really thinking about, if I'm talking beyond voting, I'm talking about having conversations with your neighbors. I think a lot of times we over think what civic engagement is. It's a conversation with your neighbor. It's inviting them over so y'all can talk about what's in the news. It's doing the same thing with if you're a parent, doing the same thing with your kids. Civic engagement is talking to them about what is in the news, how it affects them, how it affects their family. And it's also, again, I just always go back to, it's helping out your neighbors. It's, if you have somebody a little bit older on your block, it's shoveling their snow. Out their driveway and having the chance for that to turn into a connection, and y'all to really use that as opportunity to build community, and really expand beyond the idea of civic engagement just being tied to voting.
Thank you very much, Washaw.
Yeah, to me, civic engagement is really just being in the know. We have Google, like I know when I'm out knocking doors and calling folks, they have a lot of questions. But to me, civic engagement is, when you're thinking about the state of the world, I mean, we have Google at our fingertips. I mean, Google, like, hey, when's the next election? What are they doing about this bill or this and that? It's like really doing the work, because I mean, a lot of people like get comfortable and expect other people to do everything for them. But civic engagement to me is about you activating yourself. Get yourself activated and start finding out what's out there. A lot of people don't know that in a 4-year period, there's 3 elections. A lot of people just want to vote in the presidential election, then they miss the local elections. But it's like you have to get in the know. When people are out knocking on your doors, answer the door. When they're calling your phone, this is civic engagement. Engaging. A lot of people, I'm not answering that door, but if you answer the door, you're being civically engaged. If you answer the phone, you're being civically engaged. So it's like civic engagement is just like, again, self-activation, activating yourself, going to the city council meetings. These meetings take place every week. Show up. Can't nobody do this for you. To me, civic engagement is things that you have to do for yourself. This is a democracy. We have rights, and we have to, take advantage of these opportunities while we have them. So, again, it's like also like Brad was saying, outside of the voting, civic engagement is, talking to the youth. Right now we know that a lot of youth don't vote. So day to day, we can have those conversations with the youth about the importance of voting, the importance of, steering away from gangs, because a lot of youth don't realize that when you go out and catch a felony or something, you just lost your right to vote. So now civic engagement isn't something that you'll be able to engage with. So, being preventive, just showing up and sharing, sharing is caring, informing people. Knowledge is power, if applied. So, it's just about having conversations with folks and stressing the importance of being, vocal. And so that your voice was meant to be heard.
I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you both so much for expanding our understanding of what engagement truly means. Let me follow up with another question. What practical first steps can individuals, especially those who feel disconnected, take to become more civically involved?
Yeah, I think for me, similar to my first answer, I really think that first step is community. When I have seen people who've gone from disengaged to very engaged, it's usually because of a couple reasons. One of their friends got really engaged. A lot of times that's enough to do it. I know that's the case with my best friend. He was never into politics, and I got into politics. I said, "Hey, man, you're coming to do this with me because I'm not doing it alone." So with a lot of these pieces, it's about having community. If some of these tasks that we think of as civic engagement, whether it's voting and just going to the polling place and handling and dealing with that process, or if it's more advanced and you want to go knock doors and activate people, so you can kind of spread that engagement. It's always better to do with friends. It's always better to do as part of a community. So I really think that's the first step. I see people do it all the time, and I've seen so many book clubs because you're there with friends and you're talking about similar subjects, and you hold those same shared values and beliefs. And those book clubs then turning into GOTV clubs, where now the focus of the book club is, okay, we're going to read a book about elections, and the effects of elections and what happens when we don't vote, what we've seen happen in the past, and now we're going to use that motivation from that book club and all those other things, and we're going to make our book club more than a book club. At the end of each book club session, we're going to set aside 15 minutes to each do 5 calls to our family and friends and make sure they're registered, make sure if they're already registered, they know where their polling place is going to be, all those various things. I think that's really how, when folks have been in that spot of being disengaged and want to be engaged, you got to take a friend. And most of the time, you're going to have to drag them, but it's okay. Y'all do it together, and then you'll end up loving it together.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I appreciate those tangible steps. That makes engagement definitely feel more accessible. One more question for this session, and I'll address this to Aisha. How can community organizations and local leaders better partner to mobilize underrepresented communities?
I think it's important that organizations link with each other. I used to always say, when I was out canvassing, that we're leading by example. So I would say, with the objective of canvassing is you go out there and you're telling community members, hey, get active, come to all these events. There's power in numbers, things of that nature. But then, speaking of the organizations, they like to go out by themselves. So like someone knock at your door, it might be just one organization. I think coalition building is important, by building your base and showing up together to show everybody that just like we're expecting the whole community to come out and rally together and show up, I think that we have to be an example of what togetherness looks like. So when I'm at your door, it's not just the table at the door. It might be the Nebraska table with the Heartland Workers Center, with RISE, with League of Women Voters. I think it's about us showing strength in numbers, up top, to send that message to grassroots that it's okay to have different perspectives and be in different fields, but us showing up together, I think that's how we kind of send the message that it's important for us to team up to show people there's no that show them that we're connected pretty much, and that we're not all just isolated in our own little realms of the world, but that we do work together. We are connected, and we have to be connected because it's not safe to isolate, especially in this, period of time. I think we all need to show that what strength in numbers look like.
Thank you, Aisha. Now that we've discussed building community power, let's shift to how that engagement connects directly with city leadership. Council members Goodwin and Festerson, what are the most effective ways residents can make their voices heard at the city level?
Guess I can go ahead and start if you want me to. Thanks for having me. So I know I was cutting it close there, so I'm glad I made it on time.
Thank you.
And thanks to the previous discussion there. I agree with all the comments they were making. I think they were spot on in terms of how to get involved and how to be effective. A few thoughts from my perspective, then I'll turn it over to Lavanya. You'll be surprised how hands-on city council members are, and I think it's the same with county commissioners. We all answer our own emails and our own phone calls, and we do share staff and things like that, but we're very accessible, I think, to those that are interested in what we're doing. We have a weekly process that's very predictable in terms of its timing and the issues we're seeing. So I encourage everyone to get involved in that process. It's pretty easy to watch on TV or over Zoom if you can't be there that day. And I always appreciate hearing from people who have true life experience on these issues, who have a passion on these issues, but maybe most importantly, present a well thought out and factual discussion about them. To me, that can be very impactful. And anyone can come to a city council meeting and share their thoughts as a proponent or an opponent, or over email or over Zoom as well. And that can really influence how we think. So I would encourage you to do that and not be intimidated by the process. I know it can be kind of scary maybe to come down there sometimes, or to come down there by yourself, like you were saying. But trust me, we'll be nice to you, and we appreciate having you there. That's what the public process is all about.
Yeah, I appreciate Pete's words and again, the prior dialogue. I think first of all, people should remember that, especially at the city council level, we are people who live in your neighborhood. That's one of the things I always like to connect with when people give me a call, like, yeah, I saw that issue on the way to work. So thank you for, following up. I'm not somebody who is leading from, an ivory tower in ways that sometimes I think people might think that, just because now we have the title of council member. And so that engagement is really reaching out. That's the other thing I like to do when people do reach out, is thank you for bringing this to my attention. We all represent at the city council level about 77,000 individuals. That's roughly 40 plus neighborhoods. That's a lot. So it may not be that it's never that I don't care, but it's probably that we don't know about that specific pain point. So reaching out is important. But I also think that something I really want to communicate to my constituents is how to partner with me. Because if we can learn how to be effective together, we're going to get more done. And so learning where to connect, even if that means, hey, I one time said, folks, don't tag me on Facebook. Not that I don't care, but I'm actually not on social media all the time. And so if you think that's the best way to reach me, I might be delayed in getting to that important issue. But if you email me, it's right at the front. I can then connect you to that broader ecosystem of the people who help us do the work. And so I think as much as we want to hear from you, and I always do, then when I say, hey, these are the next steps, know that I'm working on it. I also can't stress more that in these last, 9 months since I've been elected, I was elected in 2025, I've learned that no problem is rarely as simple as it seems by the time it gets to the city level. And so yesterday I was on the phone with someone who it was hard for her to understand that I get why you're frustrated that this can't move faster. I'm frustrated too. But if we could wave the magic wand, it probably would be done already. So understanding those processes, and once you get a city council member, I can say that of the 7 of us, everybody cares. That's why we're here. But now, as we listen to you, reciprocate that listening and even some of those next steps, and even that patience, because government is bureaucracy. I'm not saying I like it, but it's real. And so we may know that this needs to be fixed, bring it to our attention, understand that then there's a process. Stay on top of it. I don't mind you following up. You should, because that means that you care and it keeps it in front of me. And so I think just understanding how to work with politicians. I also think too that people think that politicians are like open season for whatever they want to say and however they want to disparage. And if you really want a partner, is that the way you treat a partner? Not that you have to, kiss up. That's not what I'm saying. But know that we're not just sitting on our hands. We're not in an ivory tower. We're working every day, more than just on Tuesday, to solve these really meaningful problems. So thinking of us as a partner can go a long way to getting those pain points in your community, in our community, addressed.
That insight really helps. Thank you so much. It really helped demystify how accessible city government can be. Let me ask another important question. What are some common misconceptions about how city council decisions are made? I think you touched up on some of that a little bit, but can you please go a step further? Any one of you?
Yeah, I'll just follow up and let Pete, to what I was saying is, even the simplest challenge, sometimes it is a matter of just coordinating better, right? But often there are ordinances or laws. For instance, I had a lady yesterday, private property. She's like, why can't you just put a no loitering sign on that? Because it's private property. That might need a no loitering sign. I may agree with that. But right now we have laws that will not just allow even the city to just put a no loitering sign on a private property. So again, sometimes the most simplest solutions aren't that simple when you start looking at the law. Doesn't mean we shouldn't change it, because generally, even if I'm giving you the answer that here's the law today, it doesn't mean that I think that it's perfect and that it shouldn't be addressed. But I think that that's to demystify that we're here in government because we're being governed, but we're all being governed by laws. And so, but your ideas can actually help us to address how we might change those laws.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And sometimes we also hear, I know there's sometimes the perception of, well, this issue is going to be decided anyway, or maybe they've already decided what they're going to do. And so what does my participation matter? And I would just repeat that it does matter. Our previous speakers talked about not only expressing your individual voice, but also being part of a coalition or part of an organization or part of your neighborhood association. Oftentimes that makes you more effective, because if you're part of an organization with many voices that have a similar opinion, that definitely influences how we're thinking and how we think about things. We do have constraints, as Lavanya was saying, when it comes to local ordinances and process and public decorum and public meeting rules. But all those things are influential on our thinking, and we listen to everything before we vote. And we vote on probably 100 things a week. So it's a lot to squeeze in every week, but all of us are available all the time. Social media, emails, phone calls, day and night, and on the weekends too. So I know we're always trying to encourage people to weigh in more and get more involved. I know Commissioner Borgeson and I have worked quite a bit to try and figure out how to engage more young people. I'm not sure we have that answer exactly figured out right now, but we're very interested in moving that bar forward.
Thank you both so much. So understanding the process makes participation much more empowering. The one more question for you both I have is, what advice would you give someone who wants to advocate for an issue but isn't sure how to approach elected officials?
I think I've addressed that a little bit already, but don't be afraid. We're very interested in your thoughts, and we host young people and groups all the time down at City Hall if you're interested in doing that, just to see what it's like and what it looks like and what it feels like. So it makes it more comfortable for you for the day that you may come down and share your opinion. And then I would also say, make sure you're following the news too, and following current events in your community. And not just on social media, but from trusted news sources, whether that's the World Herald or KTV or other news sources. It's important to be up to speed on how things are unfolding in your community, and making sure you're hearing from them from an accurate source. So we're all kind of starting from the same starting point.
That's absolutely.
I think that's good, Councilmember Festerson. And I also would say, first of all, again, we're elected for a reason. So we are here to be accessed by you, right? To be engaged by you. And yeah, it can be scary, but again, think of it as I'm your neighbor. We are your neighbors. But I also think it's important that you stay involved when it gets boring. I tell everybody that there's going to be a process in this that isn't the advocacy that gets everybody riled up or protesting or coming down to City Hall in droves. There's a part that's going to get boring, that's going to get into the letter of the law, that's going to have micro meetings where we're trying to figure it out. And that's all part of the process too. And that's how we keep democracy going, right? So if you're really looking for change, yeah, that energy along with the crowd can be great. And I've told advocates in the past, listen, you paved the way for me to sit here. I've told people that you've paved the way, that door knocking, that marching, that protesting. But now you've got to have that diplomat in the seat that's willing to hear both sides. So just because I'm hearing both sides doesn't mean I'm selling you out. Just because I'm approaching it in a diplomatic way doesn't mean I'm not angry too. And then there's going to be a boring side of now let's figure out what the law says and let's see if we can work with the state, or because oftentimes what we do at the city level is not just contained within our city government. We've got to work with other parts of the government system to get what we need to done passed. Stay engaged, because that's how change happens. Some of our laws that we're benefiting from now, hate to say, took hundreds of years to get to where we're at. We never want it to be that long, to be very clear. But had somebody not been willing to stand there and take that torch to make that change happen, we wouldn't be here today, even having this very diverse conversation. And so don't be afraid. I won't bite. And we won't bite. And then partner. If you think of us as a partner, I think that's what we all signed up to be, is a partner for change in our communities. Thank you.
No, thank you both for that great advice. It's definitely needed. Community members need to know that, you guys are all accessible to them, that they should be able to collaborate and partner with you on this. And that's the only way we can all work together, for our community. So thank you. So next up, so city government plays a major role in daily life, and so does county government. Let's broaden the lines. Commissioner Bergeson, how does county government impact residents' daily lives in ways they may not realize?
So first of all, thank you for having me, and I appreciate everything that everyone has said, and my colleagues really hit on a lot of good points on civic engagement. When it comes to county, we're a creature of the state, so where we're different than city is city's more infrastructure and economic development, and counties are more health and human services and criminal justice systems. So once someone is arrested, no matter what jurisdiction they are arrested in the county, when they're booked into our facility, everything falls on the county thereafter. We're in charge of public health. We do community mental health. We do long-term care. And again, the whole criminal justice system. So on a daily basis, we are really touching people's lives where it really, really does affect them, no matter where they are within one of those system points. So it is very important to, one, know who we are, know what we do, and stay engaged with us so that we make good decisions on those things that, again, affect their people's lives on a daily basis.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. That is so helpful in understanding where decisions are made. One additional question: what opportunities exist for residents to influence county decisions or serve on boards and commissions?
So we do have a lot of boards that citizens can sit on, and we have those listed on our website. And again, you can contact your commissioner if you are interested in one in particular, or just go on the website and fill out the application to be on one. So our Board of Health, our Planning and Zoning, our Douglas County Housing Authority. There's many that behavioral health, mental health, But there's ways that you can, again, be more formally involved, and that is sitting on a board or a commission. But again, there's also just coming and speaking with us versus on a board. So you can come to our board meetings as well. We meet once a week, 9 a.m. on Tuesdays, and it is also live streamed via Zoom if you can't make it in person. And so we do encourage people to show up and speak up on the issues that are really important to them. But as Councilwoman Goodwin said, stay involved even when that issue isn't your issue anymore. Stay involved as much as you possibly can so you know what's going on. But writing a letter, emailing, phone calling, coming to our office and talking to us. County government and city government are the closest to the people, and I think that's the best form of government that there is. We go to the same grocery stores, we go to the same doctors sometimes, so we know who our neighbors are, and we're there for them. And again, in any way that we can be. Again, through those formal boards or through informal, just by talking to us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for outlining those pathways. I would like to open this next question to all of our panelists. What is one action every community member should take this year to strengthen civic participation?
I think the first one is just knowing who we are. That really is the beginning. Know who your commissioners are, know who your city council representatives are, your state legislators. And even if you just write a letter of introduction to who you are, that's the beginning. And actually, I do get those and I like them. Someone has just moved in and just wanted to say, hey, I'm here and I want to introduce myself. And you'd be surprised at the conversations that start up. So take that initiative to get to know who your representatives are.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
I would say as you're engaging, again, make sure you're building a community that you're engaging with. So, if you're voting, there's a activity we always call vote tripling, but ask 3 other people to go vote and help them through the process. If you're going to go talk to one of your elected officials about an issue you care about, don't just go alone. Take as many of your family and friends and neighbors who care about that issue as well. Like, it absolutely makes a difference if you're showing up with one person versus 10 people versus 50 versus 100. So, as you're engaging, remember just that there is power in numbers. All of our wonderful elected officials here on tonight mentioned like their neighbors, they're in your community, and they want to listen to you. And so you, as a person in that community, take that and remember how much more influence you have if you have more neighbors with you.
I would just say vote. That's the simplest way to get involved and really make a difference. And it's really important that people vote this year in 2026. Elections are in May and November. And even in national elections like this, usually about 50% of registered voters actually vote. And it's even less when it comes to local elections, 20 and 30% sometimes when we talk about city council and county boards. So really encourage you to get involved that way. That can be impactful.
Thank you so much. Those are some very powerful and practical takeaways. One final question I have for our panel. How can we collectively create a culture where civic engagement becomes a consistent habit, not just something we do during election season?
I think, reaching that one person who needs to be engaged and trying to build that momentum. Some people think, number one, they don't realize the power of their individual engagement. And so I think we kind of have to continue to voice that, to encourage people. Your action matters, whether it's voting, whether it's reaching out to that elected official, whether it's showing up at a community engagement event. The power of one multiplied is how we get democracy, make it effective. So I can't stress that more. People think they have to move the mountain on their own. But if they can influence another person to move the mountain with them, then that collectively becomes the coalition building that we need. We have to keep at it. Right now, we're at a critical moment in the history of this nation. But I think people either want to talk about it, but then we need to be able to move them toward action. And so I'm interested in partnering with the people on this panel because I understand what we need to do now, but also what we need to keep doing to ensure that our democracy stays solid. But that individual momentum that builds when we can get others involved, it's already been said today. I can't agree more. And empowering people to know that their individual voice and their actions can be multiplied when we're doing it together.
Thank you.
And I like to add too that it's important to understand the history of voting. I think a lot of people take for granted the fact that women haven't always been able to vote. Once upon a time in this country, only white men who were landowners were eligible to vote. So there's been a fight for people to get their right to vote. And people have been fighting for hundreds of years for that right. So we don't want to forget that this was a fight and that we have to continue the fight to maintain those rights. Because right now, politicians are concerned about what the people who actually cast their vote want. For those who are not voting, your concerns are really not being considered because you've silenced yourself. Your voice is not heard. We want to get to a point where we're talking about 100% democracy, where everyone's voice is heard, everyone's vote count, and we can't exclude people because of full participation. So instead of deciding, hey, I'm just gonna stand back, I'm gonna sit out this election. Ain't no sitting out no election. Ain't no sitting out no election. Get involved at all times.
Thank you, Aisha.
You're welcome.
I'm going to use the be sure to go and cause good trouble because we need that today. And again, at the local level, it's the best place to start because we are, again, in this with them, with everybody. And we see it ourselves every day. We're in our communities every day. And civic engagement is something that we can't lose. And it feels like we're losing it. The civil discourse is just ugliness anymore. And it's up to us, each one of us on this panel, each one of us that's an elected, each one of us in leadership, to bring that back, to make sure that people feel it is a good thing to come and talk to your government and work with your government and solve those problems.
If I might
Yeah.
add, I'm going to jump in, Pete.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose this thought. Pete knows I interrupt him a lot. And he's gracious. In Omaha, your vote always matters. I think that's something else we need to tell people. We are in a city, we're in a state where we have the blue dot, but it can be a red dot. But your vote matters at the local and the national in a way that it doesn't across the country. So I think we've got to dismantle that. Oh, my vote doesn't matter anyway. That is 100% not true when you're voting in Omaha, Nebraska, in Nebraska. So I think that crafting messaging around that is also important because it does not apply in our state. Go ahead, Pete. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And I was just going to reinforce Commissioner Bergeson's comment about civility too. We work really hard at, I think, especially the city council level and the county board levels, to be civil with each other and with whoever's there talking to us. And I think that is a missing element in politics these days, especially federal politics, that has been very unhealthy for democracy. So I just think for those that are getting involved or may testify or may be involved in an issue, always keep it civil. You may not win every time, and that doesn't mean you can't be forceful and passionate, but keep it civil. We're all trying to work together to solve these issues, and I think you'll be more effective that way as well.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, I think we are almost at the end here. Thank you guys so much for just taking your time to be here. I know you guys are all busy. You had long, full days, but you made it a point to come and address this very important, topic here and just share your thoughts and your insights and letting the Omaha community know that you care about them and the work that you are doing and letting them know the importance of them being, involved in local government. So thank you for that. Before we close here, I would like to just share a few upcoming opportunities with the Midlands African Chamber and the MAC Foundation. We have our upcoming Peach Black Conference on May 2nd at the MCC Institute for the Culinary Arts in Omaha. We also have our MAC Foundation Suit Up Career Readiness Program on March 14th, which is this Saturday at Girls Inc. This program supports youth professional development and career preparations. Next week, Thursday, March 19th, we have our Power Hour with our Pitch Black finalists. You guys will get to finally meet our top 5 finalists who will be competing on May 2nd, presenting their business ideas for a chance to win up to $15,000 to invest in their business. So we're excited about that. On March 23rd, we have our MAC Accelerator Investors Meetup event, which will be taking place at Omaha 100 from 6 to 9 p.m. So we invite all small business owners to come and take advantage of that opportunity. We invite you to stay engaged with these initiatives and continue building impact with us. Please also stay connected with us on our social media platforms for upcoming programs and opportunities throughout the year. On behalf of the Midlands African Chamber and the MAC Foundation, thank you again so much for joining us tonight and being part of this important conversation. Thank you all and have a great evening.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yes,
Good
thank you.
night.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Good
you
night,
so
everyone.
much.
Thanks.
Guys, have a great evening. Bye-bye.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.